Welcome to the Institute's Leading Edge, a show dedicated to helping the automotive aftermarket service industry. Covering topics suggested by you, the listener, we dive into what's important, getting you what you need to succeed. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Institute's Leading Edge. Today, we're on episode 76. I want to remind those of you who are watching or listening to this, go ahead and like this video or this podcast. Share it on your page. Follow us for more when we post, just to keep you guys up to date on new content, because we're always putting out new content. Today's episode is on increasing productivity in your shop. Our panelists include Patrick Weidman from Grove Street Auto Repair and Rocky Khamenian from Beamer and Benz Specialists. And of course, myself and my dad. And reminder that you guys can comment down below any questions or comments you might have on today's topic. We'd love to have some engagement from you. And if you are commenting, we're watching those so that we can get them answered during this whole show. So with that said, let's get into it. The first question I have is, for one, Dad, why are we talking about productivity today?
The average productivity. So first of all, I think we have to define what we're talking about when we talk about productivity, because there's multiple definitions out there depending on who you are talking to. So for my purposes, productivity is the number of build hours that a technician does in a day. So if I pay somebody for 8 hours today, do they do 8 hours that I can bill to a customer? That's 100% productivity in my book. Now, some people call that efficiency, but what I call efficiency is when you're working on the car, how efficient are you? If you're on the car for 2 hours, you don't go off the car, you don't take a bathroom break, you don't go on the phone. How many hours can you produce when you're on the car? In order to be 100% productive, you have to be more than 100% efficient in your business. Now, when you look at productivity, the reason that this is important is because your labor, what you pay for your labor, and today, that is going up and up and up with the shortage of technicians, the technicians that are good, that know they're good, want more money. The costs are going up. Let's say I pay a technician $30 an hour, and my effective labor rate is 100, just because it's a nice round number. When I have a load on that technician, FICA, FUTA, workers' comp, vacation, etc., in most places, that's about 30%. So I'm actually paying $39 an hour. Well, if I pay that guy $39 an hour and he only produces 4 hours today that I can sell, the actual cost of that to me was $78 an hour. So I paid $78 for the hour, and then I sold it for $100, and I only made the difference, which is $22, instead of making, $61, because of that additional cost, because he wasn't productive. Now, the average productivity in the industry is 72%. At least it was the last time I checked the number, from numbers that I feel are legitimate, which means that typical shop is probably, if they're paying somebody $30 an hour for that hour plus the $9 load, they're probably paying somewhere around $48 to $52 an hour based on the productivity, and they're losing that extra $10, $12, $15 an hour. And so they don't have labor margin. And if you don't have labor margin, you don't have gross profit margin. And if you don't have gross profit margin, you don't have enough dollars to pay your bills. So long-winded thing, but I think you have to really define it before you go into it. The shops that I have run at about 120% productivity, meaning my guys do about 9.8 hours a day and actually get that done, that I can bill the customers because they're very efficient at what they do.
Also, Cecil, if I can jump in there for
Please.
a second. So I think that there's also a longevity issue with all those numbers that you mentioned. We really have to look into how long is it going to take to sustain certain numbers, and how tired are the technicians and the workers are going to get if you continue with it. So there's a lot of other portions of this productivity that we also need to be talking about. for the longevity of it, and in order to be not to create, you know, an issue with the technician that they were just working too hard and too much and too long, and they're gonna go, I can't do it anymore, I gotta go. So all of a sudden, your productivity just collapses, and so there's lots of other things that we really need to look at in a large horizontal type conversation. Thank you.
I think we have to be really smart about how we bill out hours. And I always say you can make more with a pencil than you can with a wrench. So most of the shops that I'm working with have some kind of a labor multiplier. I would tell you that's to pay for the things that we don't really charge the customer for, the test drive, the paperwork, et cetera. But another thing is really to help get that productivity up. So we don't wear our technicians out. You know, I believe a technician can be 120% productive if the shop runs well, if the parts are there, if we're billing out the appropriate amount of time for the jobs. I think we can run at that pace. I did in my shop for 6 years, and we didn't burn out technicians. I think you have to think about that as part of your business. I mean, and I would tell you that most of the time technicians are not productive, not because they don't want to be or they're not able, but they're not able because the shop process is messed up. You know, it takes too long to get cars in. It takes too long to get parts. We get the wrong parts. You know, the flow is bad.
So I think that you're talking about I apologize, Patrick. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to ask you, Rocky, if you've experienced that burnout. Have your techs burned out?
Personally, no, but I know a lot of shops that have. I'm a past president of ASCCA, and I know quite a bit of many shops in person. But yes, I've seen it. But
do you think it's more about putting pressure on technicians when the shop doesn't run right? So you're kind of demanding this productivity, but you're not fixing dispatch, you're not fixing scheduling, you're not fixing pricing.
That's what I was going to ask.
That creates that pressure.
If it's more of an emotional thing where you're giving them this goal that they can't quite hit, and they don't have any control over whether or not they're getting that goal done.
Patrick, do you have a comment on that?
Well, I think as owners, it's on us to give them all the tools to be able to produce and be efficient and increase their productivity. I mean, you've got to, you can't just throw somebody in the bay and give them a goal and then not help them reach that goal. That doesn't help. That doesn't help morale at all. They're not going to like that. The guys next to them, they're all going to bitch and moan about the same thing.
I think Patrick is talking about the support system that you have to provide in order for the technician to be able to be productive, right?
For sure. Yep.
Yeah. So it's, you have to have the parts guy, you have to have the person that cleans after him constantly, gets everything organized constantly. The service writer is feeding him the right information. And, so all of that is just one big package.
There are multiple factors to having productivity in your business. I mean, I think that most shop owners, excuse me, look at, do I have enough cars in my shop? And they don't look at, are we selling the job at the right amount of time? Are we supplying the parts in a reasonable time? Are we getting authorizations in a reasonable time? Do we have the tools? Does my technician have the tools they need? And I think you said something kind of important, Rocky, and that is the information that the technician is supplied with. Do they get good information, from the service advisor? Are they, barking up the wrong tree because the service advisor hasn't given them a good description about what they need to do? I would tell you too, excuse me, we'll get right to you, Patrick, I promise. But I would tell you too, I listen to service advisors, and the guy is scheduled for, let's say, a check engine light, And at the counter, the customer comes in and you always say, okay, so you're here for this, here's your problem, blah, blah, blah. Is there anything else going on? And the customer will say, oh yeah, I've got this rattle in the back of the car, and my window doesn't roll up and down all the time, and this and this and this. They add 3 or 4 things to the job, but the service advisor is not adding that diagnostic time right from the start. So right from the beginning, we're in trouble on the job. Go ahead, Patrick. I'm sorry.
I think that's what I was going to say was it's on the service writers to sell the work. That's going to generate the hours. That's going to help the productivity. If the work's not there, then don't give them an unrealistic goal if the service writer can't sell the work.
Now, you're a general repair shop, Patrick. What is your hours per car? What's your average repair order in hours? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, we're just under 3, depending on the week. I mean, our efficiency last week was 130. The week before was 141, I think.
Okay. And then, Rocky, you guys are a specialty shop. You're a German car, right? European?
Yeah, 4.6, I believe.
Okay. And I think average repair order matters too, because if we're bringing in a lot of cars at an hour and a half a car, then I've got to bring in twice the number of cars or 3 times the number of cars if I'm in a Rocky shop. And that guy has to do 3 test drives, 3 sets of paperwork, rack the car 3 times, etc. So I think, average repair order has something to do with whether or not my technicians can be productive.
So for me, okay, so let me just spell it out for you. For me, I would rather have less cars than too many cars. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to have a lot of cars. There's a lot of processing. There's a lot of communication. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of everything. Where if I could get one car in and sell $3,000 or $3,500 on a car, I'd rather do that. But I know the reality is different. But that's that's ideal for me. That would have been. So having a lot of cars is not, to me, it's not a good thing. I don't get jazzed by having that, or by having all that. Sorry.
We had 3 tech. We were at 3.2 hours a car in my shop, and we tried to schedule 3 cars per tech, 9.6 hours a day. And then I always wanted 1 extra car in the mix. So if I had 4 techs, I wanted 13 cars because I'm a little greedy and I don't want to run short. So I'd rather have a little extra work where I can tell that customer, hey, we weren't able to get your part today. We're going to keep your car tonight, rather than have my guys go home at 4 o'clock with no work to do.
The higher our car count is, the lower our average RO is.
Yeah, and I think
every week, without fail, if that car count creeps up, if something happens and we let it creep up, that average RO goes down.
And I think that's because the service advisor doesn't have the time to build the relationship, build the value for the client. And I think it's because the technician doesn't have time to do that good inspection. And both of those are super important when we talk about productivity. Are we finding the work that we need, and can we sell that work to our customer? Will they buy it from us?
And also, Patrick,
you hope you sell it and they'll come back for it down the road. I mean, they'll do the inspection. They'll try and sell all the hours, but because there's so many cars, the service writer will say, we'll get you back for that. And hopefully they come back.
I mean, Patrick, you have, a lot of cars come in and out. You have to process a lot of cars. And at the same time, the hoist goes up and down 3 times more. Everything wears out. The technician wears out. Everybody is wearing out. Whereas if you could have, again, an ideal situation where you could have controlled that number coming in, right?
Yeah.
It would not only everything would wear out easy or evenly, but also your techs won't be worn out, right?
Yeah, for sure. In and outdoors, up and down, and for sure. Yep.
There's a lot of shop owners out there that don't feel that they have any control over their car count per day.
Well, you do. I mean, when you understand your business and and somebody's going to say, oh, no, I don't. But you ultimately have the control. Your service advisor can throttle it back or push it forward. If you have too many cars, raise your price a bit. Slow it down. We got people taking in oil changes where they're losing $25 an oil change and taking a guy off a $3,000 job and then wondering why they don't have productivity or profit at the end of the month. If there have been so many shops that we have come into that have had, I worked with a tire guy that had 65 cars a day with an average repair of about $123, and they weren't making money. We slowed it down to 42 cars a day, which still to me is like, oh my God. But at 42 cars, our average repair went up over $400. And now the shop is making, millions of dollars worth of profit. Actually, it was. They had 3 locations, and we made them, I don't know, in the course of the 2 years I worked with them, we made them about $9 million in profit because we slowed it down. We did better inspections. We built better relationships with the client. We raised the average repair order, which allowed our technicians to be more productive and less stressed.
Stop with that $29.99. Jeez, can you guys stop it?
As an industry, can we just stop doing oil changes and just take care of the car like we're supposed to do? Wouldn't that be great? Oh no, but I need oil changes because that's what people come in for. Yeah.
Do you feel like a lot of this issue is just out of fear? I feeling like if they're not busy, then they're not successful.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's an emotional thing. It's not logical. It doesn't make sense. So therefore, what is my neighbor going to think if I don't have my parking lot full? Things like that. Stupid. Excuse me, utterly unreal stuff. I apologize for my wording. Sorry.
It's okay.
No, I feel like it kind of goes back to a lot of owners were technicians, and what's a technician's mindset when they're working on cars? What is success to them? Or
how much can I get done? How much do I have?
Job security, right?
Yeah.
Do I have cars in the wings that are ready to be worked on?
Well,
and I feel like when you shift over to being an owner, that doesn't come, that carries over, and they don't change their perspective on that.
I think there's an inherent fear in the industry of, I won't have enough cars, enough customers to make money. And I think the second fear in the industry is, if I hold my techs accountable, or if I try to get productivity out of my technicians, then I won't have techs. And I would say that every single technician wants to be productive, wants to be successful. We need to help them to be able to do that. Patrick, did we slow car count down in your shop?
We did.
Okay. And was that
not as much as you wanted to, but we did.
Yeah. Was that scary for you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a scary thing. When you don't see that schedule full, and we were that shop that pumped out the oil changes. They weren't $29.99, but we pumped them out. People would wait. We don't even have waiters anymore. We don't allow people to wait anymore. We have 7 loaner cars, so you take one and go. But we'd have, I think we scheduled them 8, 9, 10, 11. Every hour there was an oil change. And as soon as they get in the door, they're looking at their watch and when's it going to be done. And we were that company. We had to slow it way down.
Can you take me to how it felt before, like your feelings and thoughts before you made that change, and then kind of what your thoughts and feelings are now?
You mean when Cecil suggested it? I thought he was out of his mind. But after I realized, once we started tracking the car count and the average RO and hours per repair order, it was just a world of difference. You saw it almost immediately. Less stress everywhere. The front counter, out back.
The checkbook, less stress on the checkbook, more money in the account.
So things that an owner can do is to kind of dial back how many cars we're doing per day, so the tech has more time to inspect and the service advisor has more time to build value.
I think it's one of the questions that my coach through Cecil, Ryan, when we were interviewing technicians, one of the questions he has me, I still ask it all the time when I'm interviewing somebody. Would you rather have more cars to work on or more work on less cars? And it's interesting when you ask that question, how the good technicians, the ones that we end up hiring, always answer it the right way. And the other ones are, no, more cars. Let's get them all in. Let's get them out.
Well, you got to think that the time to get the car in, rack it, all that, it compounds over multiple cars.
Sure does.
And this time you're not working. you talk about having to juggle a bunch of things. If one technician's spending more time on one car, there's not going to be a lot of those changes, and they can just focus on that one car.
And they're not stressed out. The technicians
They're not as stressed out. Yeah.
About they're in the middle of a timing belt job and there's a 10:30 waiting oil change and we got all the lifts tied up and he's going to have to back something out. And that doesn't happen anymore. Less stress.
So there's another aspect to this. The way I have taken my business after 33 years or during the 33 years is that I'm a relationship I love to create relationship with my clients, and I consider myself a very service oriented and very boutique style shop. And if when you start having too many cars come in there, you're going to cut from all that relationship. It's like, you know, you have a girlfriend and you can't see him for 5 minutes a week. You know, it's like, what's going to happen, right? So the same thing goes with the clients. I rather spend the time explaining to my clients and going through the vehicle, because I am not only trying to be productive, but I'm also setting the future for that client in my shop, and also the automatic referral that comes out of that, because the personal attention that client gets is bar none. It doesn't happen anymore, Patrick. You know that. It's all about hustle up and get going. So I'm productivity for me is very important, but also that relationship is very important for me too.
But I don't think you get productivity if you don't have the relationship. I mean, I think there's a real correlation to that. Yes. Because, you know, I love it. You have this technician working on, you know, a $2,000 job, timing belt, water pump, whatever, and you pull them off for this oil change while you got a waiter customer or not. And the technician is going to rush through it so they can get back to the job they think is the job that's going to pay more and give them more, you know, return. They don't want to do that oil change. And they're not going to do a good inspection. And then not only are you hurting your company because you're letting dollars slip through your hands, but you're also hurting your client because you didn't really inspect their car. And if something breaks down 2 weeks from now, I guarantee you that most customers, if not all of them, at least will think, why didn't they tell me about this? Even if they don't hold you accountable, they'll think, why didn't they tell me about this? And then you got to bring in another, you know, $39, $69 oil change, whatever it is, you know, today to fill that spot. Instead, let's build the relationship with the client. Kent said, you know, all, you know, shops should slow their car count down. That's probably true of most shops. But first, make sure you have a good inspection. Make sure your service advisor can build the relationship and have the conversation with the customer. I mean, if you're a $29.99 oil change company or $39 or $49, and you're bringing 3 cars an hour in to do oil changes and rushing them through, your people don't know how to do a good inspection. Your service advisors probably don't know how to build a good relationship and sell your customer a $5,000 job. That's not what you do. You rush cars through your shop.
The service advisors don't have the opportunity if that's your business model.
Yeah. And it's going to hurt. You know, it's going to hurt you in the pocketbook.
Yeah, on top of that, you know, you're advertising $29.95, $39.95, $49.95 oil changes. Who are you attracting? Are you going to be able to sell $4,000 to those people? Are they? I'm not saying that you're going to do it inappropriately, but if they need that work, so the shops that are very, very busy and doing, you know, $29.95s, they're in the business of changing oil. They're not in business of service. They're not in business of automotive repair. You know, and they're just in the business of Jiffy Lube, and we already have Jiffy Lube. Why do we need to do? I mean, I just don't get it.
I'll tell you what makes me the most crazy as a coach consultant, and that is when you go in and you watch service advisors. I mean, they're scheduling so many oil changes that even if you found the work and even if the customer wanted to do it, you're sending the customer out without doing the work. I mean, I've got shops when we start with them that they have so many cars and so much work that they're not the way they're scheduling, they're not allowing for that work to even be done and sold. And
but
then those
Dad,
people leave
they're
and don't
gonna
come back.
But Dad, they're gonna get it later. They're
Yeah,
gonna
they're
get the work
not.
later.
They're not. I'll tell you that's a stinking thinking thing to put in your head. First of all, if that car needs something, I want my technician to find it. Second of all, I want my service advisor to present it. And third, I want my customer to authorize it. And fourth, I want to get it done when? Not 2 weeks from now. I've had people drive out of my shop, get in a car accident a block down the street and total their car when they had $3,000 worth of work that I was going to do next Thursday. I had a customer schedule work, nice old guy, been a customer for 25 years, didn't show up on the day he was supposed to come in for this $5,800 worth of work. I called. I said, I'm a little worried about Bob because he's not here. So I said, yeah, he died last night. Okay. I mean, I want the work now. Don't get me wrong. I'm very sympathetic about Bob passing away. But if we had done the work the week before when the car was in, if we had loaner cars, if we had scheduled it right, then I would have had the work done. I might or might not have known that Bob passed away. She brought the car in later and we did the work because they were going to give it to a granddaughter, et cetera, et cetera. But still, I mean, if you let that car out of your shop today, the odds of doing that work drop dramatically.
Plus, just to add this on, because I like the idea of compounding waste, time waste. If you've got to bring the car in twice, that's twice the amount of time that you have to rack the car, inspect the car, get it up there. I mean, and what's happened to the car between the first time you inspected it and the time that you bring it in for the scheduled appointment? Something could have happened.
Who knows?
But isn't that the motto though? To get busy, to be busy. That's you creating that busyness, right?
Busy is not profitable.
I think the model is to run a profitable business as defined by whatever I define profit is. For us, that's 20% net profit out the bottom. I want to have, in order to do that, I have to be productive. I have to have technicians that are probably doing at least 7.5 hours a day. Otherwise, my costs for labor go up dramatically and my profits go down. And then I also need the right car count. And the right car count may be less than what you're currently doing if you did good inspections, if you built good relationships, and if you brought the right customers in your door.
Yeah.
The problem with the $39.95, let's say $49.95, those are the cheap oil changes today, $39.49. The problem with that customer is that but not all of them, but many of them are not going to be loyal to you. And the next time they need something, they're going to look for the next $39.95 coupon. I always say even a blind dog finds a fire hydrant every once in a while. So if I run cheap oil changes, every once in a while, I'm going to get a good customer come through the door. But the bulk of those people are not going to be long-term clients that recommend people to us, et cetera.
Speaking of developing long-term clients and relationships, if you're a shop out there that is running that oil change model and you're overstressed and you want to start bringing in qualified clientele into your business so that you can slow things down, run a less stressful business, have your techs be a little less stressed and find more work and enjoy their job instead of the anxiety fueled busyness of it. Why not join us at the Mars Conference on July 30th and 31st? Mars stands for Marketing for Auto Repair Shops. We're bringing in 7 expert marketers in their respective fields, everything from SEO to website to strategy to guerrilla tactics. All of that will be handled in the Mars Conference. And you should totally sign up and come. You're going to be here at our brand new facility in Ogden, Utah, and we'd love to have you. After that, let's get back into the questions. Thank you
new
so
on
much
the
for that,
inside, not yet new on the outside. So when you drive up, you're going to be disappointed, but I swear when you come through the door, you're going to be happy.
Yeah. To bring this back, a lot of the stuff that we've talked about has almost nothing to do with the technician themselves. It seems to be everything that management handles to improve productivity. Why is that?
Because that's where it really begins. And in most shops, that's what's holding it back. It's funny to me that that most shop owners, they will pay for tech education. They understand my tech needs to keep up with the technology, etc. But many of them will not pay for owner education, manager education. And so you don't have the right systems, processes, procedures in your business, which frustrates your people, actually frustrates your customers, and limits the kind of money that you can run through your business and make. And you need to fix those things in order to let's hire 4 service new technicians if we could. First of all, who's going to find 4 good technicians today? But let's say that we could and we hired them all. And let's put them out there in the bays, but let's not support them with a good inspection process. Let's have 2 oil changes an hour for each guy lined up. Let's bring a bunch of cars through our shop, and let's not do great inspections and raise our average repair order, and see how fast those 4 good technicians get frustrated and decide that this isn't the place for them. They can't be successful here. Instead, let's bring in 2 technicians. Let's create a good inspection process. Let's slow it down a little bit so we have time to build that relationship with the customer. Let's market for top-notch customers. Let's make a shift in our thinking, and let's set these guys up to be successful. And then let's see how long they stay pumping out 8 to 10 hours a day out of those bays. Go ahead, Rocky.
Thank you. So I agree with you that you got to constantly look at your numbers, look at your productivity numbers. It has to happen. It has to happen. But in the end of the year is also where you really need to look at it too. Yes, I did produce certain percentage of productivity this year, but what did I have to do for that, right? How did I do it? How many takes did I have to go through? How many service riders did I have to go through? What did I have to do to get to that? That also is a question that needs to be answered and looked at. So, and if you can meet in between those 2 numbers in the longevity of the business, the time that you're calculating this, which is probably 12 months, then you're in the right sweet spot. Because I think we're all looking for that sweet spot, right? So am I off by saying that?
I think there's a number that is the right number of cars for your business. There's an average repair order number that's the right average repair order number, and there's a customer that's right for your shop. The problem that we see from my perspective as a coach and consultant is when we walk in and we ask shop owners, tell me about your profit and loss statement. Tell me what your average repair order is. Tell me, they don't even know what those numbers are. They don't look at that. And if you're not paying attention to it, you can't affect change, good or bad. It's what's going to happen. It is out of control. You have no control because you're not paying attention and because you're not doing, your energy is in different areas. We've got guys that are spending, I don't know, $10,000 a month on direct mail to bring in a bunch of oil changes, and they're hamsters on a wheel. So, I think you're right, Rocky. I think we need to look at the big picture, but I think we also need to have targets that we look at weekly, monthly, and we need to pay attention to those details so that we can create an environment where we can be successful and our people can be successful.
Somebody has to be the captain of the ship. Somebody has to steer it the right way. Somebody has to navigate the course, and you got to do it by the numbers. And one of those numbers is productivity.
So before you got into coaching and consulting, Patrick, were you paying attention to those numbers, or what was your main concern?
I was paying attention to the numbers. We definitely didn't have the productivity we have now. We were running, if you remember, we were probably high 80s, low 90s, which wasn't bad. But we had one of the technicians was consistently 25, 35 hours a week. And then Ryan changed the pay plan. All of a sudden, that guy the same guy, same amount of cars, can now do 45, 50 hours a week because he's getting a different pay plan. He was getting an incentive. We had one before, but it wasn't as robust as what we put in. But it was a huge difference before.
I think it's important that you pay. I don't build pay plans anymore that are flat rate. We don't do that. I also don't build hourly or salaried pay plans. I build a balanced pay plan that's kind of a balance. I call it performance enhanced. And one of my rules is that the bonus has to be enough to change behavior. So if you're going to bonus your guy, $2 an hour when he hits 40 hours or 50, he doesn't care. But if you're going to pay him another $5, now that starts a couple $100. It's 800, 1,000 a month. That's a different story. It can
has to move the needle a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what the plan was before. If they hit over 40 hours, they get another $1 an hour. Once they went to 45 hours, they got an extra $50 a week. And there was only one guy out of the 4 that it really gave him any kind of motivation. But once we switched, it was like night and day.
So having the right pay plans, it's funny because when we put these pay plans in place in every shop we've ever put them in place, and that's probably 1,000 shops, performance has gone up, productivity's gone up dramatically, 15, 20, 30, 40%. Easy. And you would think, oh no, I'm paying this guy more money, but in effect, you're also bringing more money in, and when you overcome your fixed expenses, there's a lot more money sitting in the pile that can be paid out.
Yeah, that's even though you're paying, the payroll goes up, it's offset by the increase in the net profit that ultimately drops down the bottom. I mean, once they start hitting 60, 70 hours, yeah, they're making a great paycheck, but the amount of work they're producing, I mean, that's 70 hours, it's 50% of its parts. And, if you got a 60% GP on the parts, it's really dropping down at that point.
So
I think it's
Patrick.
Go ahead. Dad. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So Patrick, tell me, do you see more smiles and laughs and much more positiveness in your shop than before?
It's been a great 3.5 years, Rocky.
Yeah. See, that really to me, I mean, that to me is worth billions.
Yeah. Yeah. They're happy. There's nobody complains out there. The one that we had that was starting to get like that, he fired himself. The other guys kind of like, you know what? We don't want to listen to that. And the kid ended up getting another job. And
yay.
Yay.
Yay. Thank you. Yep. Thank you for self-terminating. I needed you to do that.
You can see the writing on the walls.
Yeah. And I think we want to build that culture in our business of, having fun and enjoying our work. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to come to work every day, dreading the day ahead of me. And I don't want my people to do that either. Yep. So what other questions you got, Kent? I got more. I can talk forever, but
I kind of like this trajectory we're going on, talking about pay plans, and I really want to get into what immediate or applicable things can owners start to change or implement. Why not flat rate?
What they need to do is fire that lunatic and hire somebody that can do the job.
Fire the lunatic? You mean the owner, or is that what you're talking about? The crazy person in the shop? No,
the owner.
Okay, that's what I thought you were saying, but I wanted to make sure I wanted it clear. Obviously I'm an educator, so I think education is one of the keys. And having done this now for 22 years and watching guys like Patrick who were stressed when I first met him, who weren't making the kind of money he wanted, there's been so many people that we've helped that they were ready to get out of the business. Tom, can never remember his last name. Lambert. He was ready to quit and get out of the business completely, in debt, unhappy. And now he's taken, 2 weeks every 3 or 4 months and going all over the world with his new wife and enjoying his life, and his business is making him, 50 times what it was before.
So there's a perception that is prevalent in the industry, and I almost feel like, again, we kind of go back to this. You want to get your tech trained and on the newest thing, the newest tool or what have you. But would it be more beneficial? So say you're presented with 2 classes that you can have your technician and or business take, right? One would be just the new technology that they can learn that you can maybe start to sell in your shop. And the other would be developing and implementing a workflow process?
Which
one would be more valuable?
First of all, if you don't have a good workflow process, do that first. Okay. But I don't think it's an either or today. In today's business, I think you have to have both. The owner really, unless you really, so it's my business. If I really want to be a tech, I should be a tech in my business. But if you're going to be a tech in the business, you have to hire an owner or a manager to be an owner manager. You have to hire somebody to do that job. It's not like I can be a tech and the owner manager job doesn't get done. So if you want to be a technician in your own business, God bless you. If that makes you happy and that fulfills you, be a tech in your business. But also create your ability to be successful by hiring and training an owner and a manager that can really manage the business. And so I don't think it's either or today. I think you have to do both. And if you're an owner who's gonna be a business owner and really own your business and manage your business, those classes are essential. Patrick, how much money do you think? I mean, you paid quite a bit to be consulted with and et cetera, and you're still paying. How much money have you made based on that? And how much better is your life today quantitatively than it was 3.5 years ago?
Well, I'll first start with I would have spent twice what I spent to get where I am today. I would have spent twice what I spent. Shouldn't have said that because you're going to raise your rates, but but I would have. So we didn't do bad, and we were probably floated around 10 or 11% net when you came along. We hunted you down, and now we're probably 19-20% consistently. Before, the 9 to 10% might have been, it jumped up and down to 4, up to 10, but now it's pretty consistent at 19%. So I would say it was that 3 times, 4 times as much, maybe even more. I couldn't even, I haven't even put a pen to paper to figure it out, Cecil, but it was the best money that I ever spent. And as far as quality of life, the best money I ever spent.
And I think that's, for me, it's more important to have that quality of life than it is to have all the cash in the bank. I mean, obviously, if I have cash in the bank, I'm not worried about paying my bills, then I have better quality of life. But, our mission statement here is better business, better life, better industry. And we believe that if we can help you run your business well, that you'll have a better life. And we have lots of examples of that with guys like you, Patrick. And frankly, Rocky, you've been to lots of classes I've taught over the years. You never signed up for the big coaching consulting program, but you've been to me, you've done mail-in stuff, I'm sure you've done 10 different guys, and you're an education junkie. But I think that's because you understand not only is it profitable for you, but it makes your life better, right?
Absolutely. Cecil, the reality of life is that you can't do everything. And the reality of life is that you don't know everything. You'll be lucky if you know 1-2% of something. So, and you need help. Everybody needs help. There's nothing wrong with getting help. There's nothing wrong with asking. The people that are not asking are falling behind. The people that are not admitting to themselves they need help are falling behind. And they're the ones that are going to eventually get tired of what they're doing and just get out of it. And they call this business, oh, what a failure. This is bad business. Don't get in this business, blah, blah, blah. It's like people that own cars and they call them pieces of crap because they don't take care of them, right? So it's the same thing. But once we realize that we are human beings and we need help, then it goes up from there. And I think that's what we really need to work on ourselves and stop doing everything and ask for it and learn it properly. Do it right.
I think it's really interesting because we're having a conversation about productivity and the lack thereof in your business. I mean, if you have 100% productivity or 95, 97, or 120, then you don't need this conversation. But if you're a business that's doing 70, 60, 80, you need the conversation and you need the education, not just because it's costing you tens of thousands of dollars a year, but because it's costing you life, right? My life, and it's stressing out my people, which is costing them life.
Causes a lot of turnover, causing more stress, more issues because you got to find new techs.
More cost. And by the way, new techs aren't out there. Go ahead and
Yep.
try. Right now, go out and wouldn't it be much better for you if you really concentrated on how to make the techs you have successful? I mean, I think if you have a turd, you can't fix it and you need to get rid of them. But if you have guys that want to be successful, who want to do it right, then put your energy into helping them do it right. And it will pay off in spades on the other side for your business and your life.
And Rocky, I think you were dead on there. Nobody knows everything. And the sooner you realize that you can't do everything, and the sooner that you realize that you need help, the much better off you'll be. So much better. And if you're looking for ideas on how to become more efficient, ask your techs. We have a meeting every other Monday, and one of my questions is, what can we do better? What can we do to help you guys be more efficient? And I get some of the best ideas from those guys.
Right.
What if you move this tire machine over here? Or, we didn't have to roll the tires. Something as simple as that. Can minutes here, 5 minutes here, 2 minutes there, they add up.
Patrick, I've been in business for 42 years. I've had my shop for 33 years. And I'll be the first one to tell you, and I've been involved in this association and industry quite a bit. I've been really deeply involved in it. And I can tell you for a fact that I know nothing. I can't even scratch the surface of it. I'll be the first one to tell you. And
Rocky.
And not only that, though, Patrick, not only that, as the times go by, it changes. Things change constantly, right? So if you tell me that you own your business for 30 years, nowadays that doesn't mean anything anymore.
Nope.
What means is, how are you handling it now? How have you been doing for the last 6 months? And what are you going to be doing for after 6 months from now? How are you going to handle that? How are you going to change the go with the changes?
Yeah.
Those are the questions that we need to be asking, the ones that are actually, in that realm. But other than that, sorry.
It's interesting because we're having the marketing conference. I've had conversations with these marketing people that are going to come in and talk. These are my gurus. I'm not a marketing genius. I mean, I know enough to get myself in trouble. And I know enough to say, you need to talk to Dan, or you need to talk to Sierra, or whatever. What has changed from when we did this just before COVID to now? It's amazing the differences in less than 2 years that have happened in marketing. And there's so many guys out there that are holding the industry back because they're either afraid to get help, or they just think they're stuck. And I'm trapped in this job. It's a crappy job. It doesn't pay well. This is a crappy industry. I love the car analogy. Well, that car's a piece of crap. Well,
Yep.
You didn't take care of it. You didn't put energy and time and money into it. Well, of course it's a piece of crap. That's what happens to cars that aren't taken care of. And by the way, that's what happens to businesses that aren't taken care of. And that's what happens to people that aren't taken care of. They don't produce. They don't, if they're not managed, if they're left to their own devices, they want to be successful, but with everything holding them back, we're not charging the right price. We're not scheduling correctly. We're not, we have problems with parts and all of that. Of course, that's going to be difficult for us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We have a problem in our industry in that there's a good 75-80% that don't get help, and they're not moving the industry forward, and it holds the rest back. It's kind of interesting because when you look at statistical data, there's always about 20% that just really get it and they move forward very quickly. They get the help they need. There's another 50-60% that they're in the middle. They get a little help here and there. They think they can do it themselves, but they're not they're making the 4% 1 month and 9% the next, and they're paying their bills, and they're not hating life. And then there's 20% that are just hating the world because it's just treating them poorly. But in most cases, they could get the information and the knowledge to make it better. I mean, even on our gear platform, we have all this free content that, you want to know what affects productivity. There's a great 20-minute little video that you can get for free, right? Gearforshops.com. And it will tell you what affects your productivity and things to do.
Even effective labor rate, you have it on video. So you got all those in video.
Yeah, I think there's
we actually have like
50
hundreds of videos on there,
little
and
stuff.
probably
And
too
some
many
big
of them are
ones.
free.
Well,
But
no, I mean, that your intent, the main intent that Cecil and you have, is to elevate the industry. That's your first goal, and the second, what comes with it basically
A result.
a gift to you is what you can make out of it, right? So
Yeah.
it's all good. I know. I mean, I've known Cecil for years. I don't know how many years? Long time.
Long 30, 35, something like that. Yeah, that's too long. We're both a little too old to be talking about age. So
Yeah, Cecil was part of this association too a long time ago, but he still is. I mean, he still contributes. Thank you,
Yeah.
Cecil.
Yep, thank you. You guys let me.
Well, I think
So-
the good thing is that the people that are listening to this podcast now, they're obviously dipping their toe in the water. So they're trying to elevate themselves and starting to think about it. And hopefully this will get them to take the dive in, as they see more of these podcasts. I mean, and it's not just Cecil. There's a ton of them out there. There's Con Capriotti and a bunch of guys out there that are putting podcasts out. I mean, that's how I found Cecil. So if they want to improve themselves, they can. And if they're happy with the 80% productivity and, barely making the rent,
being
I guess
overly
that's-
stressed.
feeling really stressed, I guess that's where they want to be. But they should know, if they're listening to this podcast, that there is light at the end of the tunnel if you put the effort in and put the time in. And
I think one of the real keys is when you learn how to schedule and you learn how to look cars over and build relationships, your average repair will go up, your profits will go up, and your life will get better, and the lives of the people that work with you will get better, and their families. So we as business owners, we have broad reaching effects to the things that we do and we don't do. Productivity to me is simple. Have the right number of cars, the right customers coming in, make sure you do great inspections, have really good communication processes, estimating, write-ups, and you're going to sell lots of work and you're going to get lots of work done if you put those things in place that allow your people to be successful.
one of the other questions we ask potential technicians when we're interviewing them is, how many hours can you produce, do you think, billable hours? And then the follow-up question is, what supports have to be in place? What support system has to be in place for you to achieve that? And almost all of them, the good ones, say, how many lifts will I have if I come here? How many, what's the shop layout? They all want to take a tour of the shop. They want to see the shop layout because they want to know if they're going to be successful here. And if you can provide those types of things, and it's just the little things. We have motion sensors on the doors so the techs don't have to get out of the cars when they come in. They pull up, it opens, and it's 30 seconds to come in, pull the car, shut the door, get back in the car, go put it on the rack. But those numbers add up, and I think potential technicians appreciate that at least I'm looking out for their productivity and their paycheck and their happiness, basically.
Let me ask you another question here, Patrick. Are your people, your technicians, your service advisors making more money now than they were 3.5 years ago?
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Patrick, let me ask you something. Do you have a bank of reviews from your employees?
I don't.
Wow.
That's a good idea, though. I'm guessing you do, Rocky?
No, I don't. I don't fire and hire that many times, but
One of the things that is becoming important is having your technicians do videos saying, look, this is a great place to work. I have a wonderful place. It's heated, it's air conditioning. They take care of me. They provide lunches. They listen to me. These are the kind of things, we're talking OTT, over the top advertising. We can geofence, send our ads into a very specific area. We can look for a very specific type of person, and we're attracting the best employees using these new methods that just weren't there a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So yeah, I would tell you right now, get your people on film talking about how great it is to work there, and create an advertising video for technicians.
Obviously, once you've created a successful work environment with all the support necessary so that a tech can be successful and productive in your shop. Well, gentlemen, I was going to do final thoughts, but I think you did sum up everything quite well at the end there. I want to thank Rocky and Patrick for being on with us today. Hang out a little bit after we finish. Those of you out there who are looking to increase your productivity, again, we have a lot of free resources at gearforshops.com, or you can check out our actual home site, wearetheinstitute.com. We've got just a plethora of free content. Check out your local associations, because they have some beneficial things there for you as well to help you improve your productivity, slow it down, de-stress your work environment, and start making more profit in your business so that you can have a better life. Just a reminder that, yes, we're having a marketing conference at the end of the month. It's going to be July 30th and 31st. You can get tickets at wearetheinstitute.com/Mars-marketing-conference. And we hope to see you there. And if you can't make it out here physically, we do have virtual seats upon, huge request. I guess that's still a thing. People still want to do the virtual thing. So we're trying to make it in person, but we're going to do virtual seats, and you can check that out there as well.